Sinisterism is about finding the primal aspects of the left-hand path, primal in history, primal in the psyche, thus obtaining truth.
Greetings, my friends, and welcome back to your dose of sinister heathenry. But for those new to the channel, I'm Thomas Leroy, founder of the International Left-Hand Path organization, the Sect of the Horn God. The sect is an educational foundation created to not only make those with a black flame aware of its glow, but to also restore the shadow aspects to the ancient gods by going deep into the past, not only historically, but also psychologically. For the primal depths of the psyche are limitless. So, if this sounds interesting, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And if you want to learn more, join the organization, the Sect of the Horn God, at the link down below. Thank you. Who are we on this path, and what is our legacy? But maybe I should be asking, what are we? What are you as a sinistrous, Satanist, Luciferian, Setian, heathen, dark pagan, or whatever you may call yourself? Did you hear a call to transformation after an encounter with the awe that whispers from within the dark? Or are you simply a bratty little shit who got on this path to defy your parents, and when your anger has subsided, your fat little ass will be back in the pew asking Jesus for forgiveness? Many start off that way, angry at mom and dad, and especially angry at God. If you're angry at Yahweh, then you've missed the fucking point, because that means you still haven't let go of his influence. Or are you one of those who truly let go, and in doing so is now angst-ridden, filled with nihilistic dread, but still with a need to ritualize? What best sums you up? For me personally, it was a need for power born from wrath. I was angry, but not at Yahweh, at the world. My childhood was shit, but just as the psilocybin mushroom grows up out of manure, something positive grew up out of the manure that was my past, the man who I am today. But getting back on track, who are we as a whole? Not as a collective, but we of the left-hand path. Who are we? One definition could be that we are the guardians of the shadow side of the esoteric knowledge, keepers of the black flame. Something passed down not from father to son or from mother to daughter or learned through books and lectures, but from within the very collective unconscious itself. A calling, if you will. A calling louder than wrath, thus allowing us to put aside anger so we can truly begin our journey. Because that's what you have to do if you want to grow. This journey begins with our primitive ancestors, the shamans of an animistic society where all was spirit, a world of panpsychic phenomenon, where stood the first shaman who dared to not bow before the higher spirits or the primordial gods, not to be one with them, but to be their equal. But how did he come to this revelation? For he had to be chosen by by his tribe to partake in this venture, this lifelong commitment to open the doors into other worlds. But even though shamans were associated with abilities usually thought to be beneficial to the community, some were believed to use their powers for, let's say, more nefarious reasons. You could call this a crude, primordial form of witchcraft. And don't get it confused with modernity's interpretation of witchcraft. But those of the community at large, it was viewed as an illness, a spiritual illness, and if one were ill, one needed to be healed to retain spiritual balance. This illness, of course, was detrimental to not only the affected person, but also the whole tribe. Out of fear, it could spread like a virus. And what was this virus? It was a near sociopathic sense of individuality brought on by a psychic essence. This shaman, though, had a different reaction. He accepted it not as deleterious, but as beneficial. It empowered him, gave him a sense of wonder, of limitless possibilities, because he was no longer restrained by the rudimentary dictates of the tribe. This is the first time in his life he felt fully liberated. This was darkness manifesting, new mask of the shadow archetype, which has emerged from the collective unconscious to enact chaos. But chaos is not always a bad thing, because when the soul or the psyche of a community becomes stagnant, a fire needs to be lit and some destruction needs to take place, not in the physical realm, but in the soul of the tribe. Not purely diabolical, he could be seen as an anti-hero within shamanism, who overcame negative deeds and consequences by pitting might against might, utilizing the black spirits as agents of vengeance. And therein lies the purity of the path, the untainted source, not diluted by the corrupting influence of modernity. And within that primordial dawn came that first ebony glow, the black flame. A fire that never died, a fire that continued throughout the ages and into the birth of tradition and the primordial hierarchy where the priestly caste was at the top. They who were the psychopomps, the mediators, the conduits between humans and gods, the folk and the divine, the world and the underworld, the objective and the subjective, of druids and priest kings. And some still refuse to bend the knee to the divine with a capital D, finding it a false divinity, understanding that one can never fully know themselves if they are subject to the scrutiny of that which is greater, they who are the keepers of the eternal black flame. While most were in fear of the Sky Father, a god at the apex of many Indo-European cultures, they found him to be a hypocritical tyrant, thus refusing to succumb to the whims of whatever name you want to give to that celestial dictator, be it Zeus, Jupiter, or Yahweh. Instead, they found comfort in the presence of the dark deities, the whisperers from the underworlds, gods that did not want them to be fearful slaves, but instead encouraged inner strength and personal growth. Gods that gave a face to the shadow. And this continued throughout the aeons, even into the coming of the Abrahamist and the attempted murder of the ancient gods, be they right-hand path or left-hand path. And throughout that turmoil, the keepers of the black flame prevailed. So, in conclusion, my friends, who are you? An angry child throwing a tantrum like those little shits you see at Walmart? Or are you a keeper of the black flame? If you are, write down below, I am a keeper of the black flame, and then write why you are. The best piece I'll pin at the top of the comments. Give it a try. You might discover something about yourself, something relevant. Until next time.